what a game. The Indiana Fever snap the New York Liberty's undefeated streak.
The word undeniable exists for a reason, and it applies to Caitlin Clark. She is just absolutely undeniable, and her return to the Indiana Fever showed it once again. It felt like a jolt of energy to the WNBA, obviously to the Indiana.
After Caitlin Clark returned from injury and completely destroyed the reigning champion Liberty with 32 points, the WNBA just committed the most humiliating error in sports history. 11 times this season, a person in a suit determined she needed a drug test. Evidently, the response on the internet was quick, cruel, and amusing. The league is currently dealing with criticism that they did not anticipate. Do you think the WNBA might be unintentionally undermining its own biggest star? Or could this be a result of unforeseen challenges?
Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She's the best basketball player that I have ever seen. She is the difference maker. She is the needle mover. She is the face of basketball right now. It's really hard not to recognize the difference that she makes on the Indiana Fever, a team that was obviously struggling with playmaking, struggling with pacing, struggling with the things that make us want to watch. And she steps into that court, and in the first quarter,
Since the facts are so absurd and seem made up, let's start with them. After missing 5 games due to injury, Caitlin Clark returns and leads her team to a decisive victory, scoring 32 points against the reigning champs and snapping New York's winning run. An obligatory drug test, the 11th this season, is the reward for this outstanding accomplishment. To put this into perspective, most WNBA players get tested 3 times during the regular season and once during the off-season.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark to fire away from 2 players with incredible.
When the WNBA office examined Clark's stat sheet, they supposedly concluded that she must be using performance-enhancing drugs because, clearly, talent preparation and her exceptional basketball skills couldn't account for her performance, which was 32 points after missing 5 games. The responses on social media were swift and cruelly stated. She tested positive for goat blood, which honestly might be the most accurate drug test result in sports history. Scott Foster should be drug tested while they're at it, according to another, which is maybe the most sensible recommendation anybody has made about WNBA officiating this season. My favorite response, though, came from someone who suggested that they should have done a DNA test to determine whether Clark is truly human, because, let's face it, what she did against the Liberty to start the game, 3 three-pointers in 38 seconds, is not typical human behavior. That's video game stuff. The timing couldn't be more suspicious or embarrassing for the league. After missing 5 games due to a quad injury, Clark returns against the league's best team and instantly reminds everyone why she is the face of professional basketball. Her return wasn't just good, it was historic. The Fever set a franchise record with 17 three-pointers, and Clark looked as though she had never left, and the entire basketball world remembered why they watch. Watch her play, and the league's reaction, let's make sure she's not cheating, is so poor that it makes the Titanic appear like a small navigational error. You have your biggest star, the player who brought women's basketball to the attention of the world and increased viewership, and you treat her like a suspected criminal after she has had her best performance in weeks. Clark is reportedly receiving the premium package, which includes post-game specimen collection after dominant performances, even though the WNBA's drug testing policy is supposed to be random. However, when one player receives 11 tests in a single season, it starts to look less random and more like harassment. Other players are tested the required 3 times, or possibly 4 if they're unlucky.
Good job.
No, we can.
Woo, good job. Squad needed it. Played Fever way. I love it.
Since the performance was so outstanding that it reportedly prompted a drug test, let's discuss what actually transpired during that Liberty game. The brilliant part of Clark's performance wasn't just the scoring. She orchestrated the entire offense, created open looks for teammates, and made the defending champions look ordinary on their home court. When you watch the tape, it's clear that it wasn't luck or some brief hot streak. Rather, it was a basketball masterclass delivered by someone who spent 5 games on the bench studying how to destroy the league's best team. Instead of celebrating this return performance, someone in the WNBA office decided it needed investigation because, heaven forbid, their biggest star could be genuinely good at the game. The fan reactions reveal how tone-deaf this decision seems. One comment encapsulated the absurdity of the WNBA's incredulous decision to finally have a good player. This sentiment reflects the perception held by many that the league is so unaccustomed to genuine superstar talent that they are unsure of how to handle it when it appears. There must be some explanation beyond talent, work ethic, and basketball IQ for why she makes the game look so easy. According to recent performances, another person pointed out that Clark receives more drug tests than Angel Ree, which is both amusing and mathematically correct. The comparisons are harsh and never-ending, each one emphasizing how the league treats Clark in a way that verges on the ridiculous. The jokes about magic numbers write themselves. The league has established a situation where excellence inevitably prompts investigation. So 12 assists in a game must be drugs, hitting shots from the logo routinely, and improving her teammates, simply by being on the floor for another test.
Your great performance.
Thanks.
Just want to let you know you have a huge fan base in Hong Kong.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And
Hopefully I'll get there one day.
And today, there are 5 Hong Kong fans fly from Hong Kong to
No
Indiana.
way. Oh my gosh.
And the hour is 22 hours.
No
Your
way.
number.
Oh my goodness. Well, I wish I could have
just
met
want to say
them.
this, including me.
If you know them, tell them thank you for coming. That's
So-
incredible.
Yeah, so any plans you will visit Hong Kong with your teams in the future years?
Yeah, maybe we'll head to Hong Kong after the season. I mean, I certainly hope to go to Hong Kong one day. It's incredible to see the type of reach that we can have and how much people love basketball across the globe. So that's really cool. So if you know them, tell them I say hello and thanks for coming as well.
Yeah, thank you. Hope one day to show you around.
This is what makes it even more absurd. Clark's dominance isn't an unexpected development that would raise suspicions. Rather, it's something she's been doing since college. The court vision that appears to be supernatural is not visible. The drug test following this specific game indicates that the league either doesn't understand Star or doesn't want to believe she's truly this good, is just who she is as a player, and anyone who has followed her career knows that this level of performance is normal for her when healthy. Neither of these explanations speaks well of the WNBA's leadership or its capacity to identify and appropriately nurture outstanding players. What transpired against the Liberty wasn't an exception. Rather, it was Clark getting back to her typical level of play following an injury. She reminded everyone that the Fever are a totally different team when Clark is on the field than when she isn't, and the offense runs more smoothly with her teammates, acquire better looks, and all of a sudden, they can compete with the reigning champions. When the WNBA's biggest player gives a performance that should be hailed league-wide, and your answer is obligatory drug testing, the social media ridicule hits a height, with users claiming the league is willfully attempting to undermine the product. You have a basic misunderstanding of how to create and promote a professional sports league. When Steph Curry makes 9 three-pointers in a game, the NBA doesn't test him for drugs. Instead, they promote the highlights, much like when an NFL player throws for 400 yards. The league solely recognizes the WNBA's performance, which seems to require chemical examination for greatness. According to one especially harsh remark, Clark has been put to the test more times than the league has adequately promoted her, which goes right to the core of the WNBA's persistent identity dilemma. They have a generational skill that brings. Their product has received unprecedented attention, and instead of celebrating, they have responded with distrust. The timing of this discovery just makes it worse. Clark's comeback match was scheduled. The irony is that Clark's success should be the WNBA's biggest celebration. Television fans tuned in specifically to see how she would perform after the injury. Layoff. Her performance exceeded expectations, created viral moments, and generated exactly the kind of positive attention the WNBA desperately needs. Later, we learn that she was drug tested. The league's drug testing protocol may be officially random, but the optics suggest something more targeted when the same player is repeatedly selected for testing, especially after standout performances. This athlete attracts large audiences, boosts viewership, sells products, and makes sports more widely known. The fan regarding this situation show how detrimental this approach is to the league's reputation. When your audience is making fun of your treatment of your biggest star, you lose control of the narrative. When jokes about drug testing receive more engagement than highlights from the actual game, your priorities are seriously out of alignment. Women's basketball appears to be basing their drug testing schedule around her games rather than their marketing strategy around her talents. Social media users were quick to point out the ridiculousness, with comments ranging from jokes about basketball talent testing to ideas that the league should test other players to discover why they can't perform as well as Clark. The wider context makes this much more troublesome, and the inventiveness with which this judgment has been ridiculed has been unrelenting. The WNBA is currently experiencing collective negotiations for negotiating attempts to enhance working conditions and raise player compensation. The league's reputation for player treatment isn't exactly enhanced when reports surface about your biggest star being the target of excessive drug testing. The timing of these tests also calls into doubt the league's decision-making process. After dominating performances, Clark is put to the test, giving the appearance that success breeds suspicion, exactly the opposite message you want to convey to present players or prospective future stars. Social media users have made this a comedy goldmine, with jokes ranging from suggesting that Clark should demand to see other players' test results for comparison to testing for pure basketball talent. The inventiveness with which they have parodied this decision demonstrates how clearly problematic it appears to outsiders. Observers. One user summarized the situation quite well when they pointed out that Clark is tested for drugs more often than most players receive meaningful playing time. This remark underscores both the excessiveness of Clark's testing and the general mediocrity that characterizes a large portion of the league's talent level. The way the league handled this case represents a basic misunderstanding of how to handle top talent. When you have a player who has the ability to completely transform your sport, you protect and promote them rather than subjecting them to ongoing testing that suggests their success is somehow illegitimate. The league's attempts to establish credibility around competitive balance are also undermined by the drug test revelation. What does it say about the general level of competition if your greatest player is continuously being tested because their performance appears too good to be real? It implies that either one person is cheating or that everyone else is. Much worse than they ought to be, fans' response to the league's strategy has been overwhelmingly negative, with many pointing out that Clark's treatment is indicative of larger problems with WNBA leadership and decision-making. When your audience is unanimously disparaging a league decision, it's usually time to change your strategy. When compared to other professional sports leagues, the WNBA appears amateur, which is the most detrimental part of the whole situation. Major sports organizations glorify excellence rather than looking into it because they know that superstar performances generate interest and money. The WNBA's strategy implies that they either purposefully disregard this fundamental idea or don't grasp it. Examining the responses and comments, fans obviously view this as an example of more significant issues with the league's operations. The drug test turns into a representation of the WNBA's failure to manage and advertise their greatest advantages. The league has a major public relations issue when even non-experts can understand how ridiculous the scenario is. Let's look at the statistical ridiculousness of this testing frequency. With 11 drug tests in a single season compared to the league's guideline of 3, Clark is being tested at a rate that is over 4 times higher than that of other players. This is not random sampling. Rather, it is a focused investigation masquerading as a standard procedure. It is insulting to basic intelligence to term it a coincidence because the statistical likelihood of one player being chosen at random 11 times, while others are tested 3 times, is so incredibly small. Fans paid to see Clark return from injury looking like she hadn't missed a practice. Her shooting form was faultless, her court vision was precise, and her decision-making was impeccable. This performance was exactly what set off the most recent test. What professional basketball at its best looks like, and the league's reaction was to doubt its validity. The circumstances surrounding Clark's injury recovery, she missed 5 games due to a quad strain and had to work with trainers and medical personnel to make sure she recovered safely, made this even more unpleasant. Social media commentary has progressed from initial skepticism to outright mockery of league management, with users making intricate jokes about what substances Clark might be using to enhance her basketball skills. The notion that she somehow improved her recovery or performance through illegal substances is not only offensive to her work ethic, but also to the entire medical team that oversaw her rehabilitation. She may have been using prohibited amounts of court vision supplements, according to someone. The ingenuity in mocking this choice demonstrates how uniformly foolish it seems to everyone with brain cells in operation. The idea that success is suspicious and mediocrity is perfectly normal is the exact opposite message a professional sports league should be sending, and the international perspective adds even more embarrassment. While Clark is tested 11 times for being too good, other players struggle to make basic shots without any chemical analysis whatsoever. Those international fans now read about how the league drug tests their favorite player because they are too talented. Nothing says professional sports organizations treat excellence with suspicion like this. The timing of this revelation coming right after a dominant return performance creates the worst possible optics instead of headlines celebrating. Clark mentioned fans traveling from Hong Kong to watch her play, highlighting the global reach of her appeal. The return of Clark. The league's biggest positive story of the week was turned into a public relations catastrophe when we learned about drug testing procedures and possible harassment. If outstanding performance leads to further drug testing, this creates a precedent that could be detrimental to the league's future. What message does that convey to young athletes hoping to compete at the highest levels? Work hard, hone your skills, and dominate games. But if you achieve too much, expect to be treated like a possible cheater. Fans' devotion to Clark goes beyond her basketball prowess. They have purchased jerseys, gone to games, and joined the Wnba because of her influence on the game. When the league treats her like a suspected criminal for giving the kind of performance that made her famous, it feels like a betrayal of that financial and emotional investment. The viewpoint of the coaching staff regarding this matter. It must be intriguing to consider managing a team when your best player is subjected to drug testing after every outstanding performance. The psychological effects of this ongoing scrutiny may impact team dynamics and performance, and this strategy may also backfire on league interests. The business ramifications are astounding. When your top income-generating employee is subjected to extensive drug testing, you're effectively looking into your own success. Clark's presence boosts television ratings, ticket sales, and product revenue. The player who single-handedly resolved the issue is being harassed by the league, which is paying consultants millions of dollars to figure out how to increase their audience. The media has widely criticized the league's strategy. Sports reporters, who typically don't take sides, have publicly questioned the reason and equity of testing Clark at this. The Player Association should be incensed about this treatment of their most prominent member. If the league can subject Clark to excessive testing because he is too good, what's to stop them from targeting other players for any reason they manufacture? This creates a precedent that undermines player rights and dignity throughout the entire league, which is made worse by the occurrence of frequent criticism of your decision-making by even impartial observers. At the highest level, the competitive balance argument collapses under scrutiny. If Clark's dominance was artificial, other teams would be demanding investigations rather than opposing players and coaches. Women's sports have always fought for respect and recognition. So when the WNBA finally gets a player who brings mainstream attention and credibility to their product, they respond by questioning whether that success is legitimate. Expressing frustration over defending against her talent while acknowledging it is not suspect. Rather, it is a professional acknowledgement of exceptional ability. In reaction to Clark's treatment, the fan base has united behind him, fostering a rivalry between league management and supporters. When your audience is actively opposing your managerial choices, you have a serious misinterpretation of your function as a sports entertainment company. Instead of evaluating Clark's performance, her growth as a second-year professional, or the team's improved chemistry, we're talking about specimen collection protocols. The league has managed to turn their biggest star into a victim rather than a celebration, and the drug test story has overshadowed actual basketball discussion. This circumstance sums up the WNBA's continuous struggle for success well. They fervently desire public recognition and more money, but when they receive it, their reaction is distrust and inquiry. It's like whining about hunger and then doubting the quality of food when someone serves you a 5-star meal. When greatness leads to drug tests rather than celebration, the WNBA somehow manages to turn their best star's victorious comeback into a PR catastrophe. You are aware that there is a big problem with the league leadership. How do you feel about this whole situation? If you believe the league should apologize to Clark, leave your comments below, click the like button, and subscribe for more self-descriptive sports drama.